All right. One last topic that I want to talk about with relation to blood pressure throughout our systemic circulation is this right here. So remember that we have this drop in blood pressure as we go through our systemic circulation. Again, that is due to friction as the blood uh, moves against the walls of the blood vessels. We lose pressure to friction. Okay, so that by the time we get to the veins and the venules, we have a very low blood pressure. Okay, and that sort of poses us with this problem right here, which is how do we get blood back to the heart if we have no driving pressure to drive that blood back to the heart, right? So remember from our discussion of pressure and flow that you need a difference in pressure. You need a pressure difference in order for blood to flow. You need that blood to go from high pressure to low pressure. If this pressure is not very high, and if it's not very much higher than the pressure in the heart, then how do you get that blood back to the heart? Well, the answer lies in basically in venous return. So you already know the answer to this question. We get our blood back to the heart through the mechanisms that we have for venous return. I would like you to take a moment, hit pause if you need to think about, see if you can remember what these mechanisms are. How do we get blood back to the heart from the veins? Go. Okay, so hopefully you remember our three mechanisms for increasing venous return. The first is the skeletal muscle pump. Remember that in the skeletal muscle pump, skeletal muscles contract, and when they contract, they compress the veins. Okay, that compression of the veins causes the pressure in the veins to increase, right? So if we're thinking in terms of pressure, we have an increase in pressure in the veins. That then is going to increase the pressure difference between the veins and the heart. And we now have that pressure difference that we need to propel blood back to the heart. Okay. Our second mechanism, if you might remember, is our respiratory pump. So again, the way this works is that as we breathe, we actually create a low pressure condition in our thoracic cavity. And again, if we think about this in terms of pressure, what that means is that if we have low pressure in our thoracic cavity, which is where our heart is, then the difference, the pressure difference between our veins and the thoracic cavity is going to be greater. And that's going to give us that pressure difference that we need to propel blood back to the heart. And then finally, our last mechanism was sympathetic innervation. Remember that sympathetic innervation is going to cause the veins to constrict. As we constrict the veins, that's going to increase the pressure on the blood in the veins. And once again, what we're doing is we are increasing that pressure difference between the veins and the heart. And that's going to it's going to give us that driving force that we need to move the blood back to the heart.